Hello folks, welcome to Microsoft Flight Simulator. As you can see here, we're just in the native view using, as you can see, the NVIDIA Shadow Play. Can't seem to get rid of that GeForce experience at the top there, but hopefully it's not that distracting. The important thing really here is that we're just going to see what the latest Openxr update has given us. I'm currently in non-reprojection mode, running this version of the runtime, which has just been updated. I can't remember the numbers, but I think anyone who can is a better man than me, that's for sure. Oh, more of an anorak. But anyway, so at the moment we're getting about 40 frames per second. Annoyingly, when I'm not recording, I'm getting 45. But either way, that's very impressive performance. That's kind of what I get now with Sim Update 5. It's very good. And believe it or not, I don't really use motion reprojection as much as I did before, because so long as you can get a nice steady sort of 30-35 frames per second everywhere, and that my setup video for me does that, which I'll link in the description below, then you know you're still going to get micro stutters. You're always going to get them unless you run motion reprojection or you run 90 frames per second, which none of us can. So motion reprojection is the only way you're going to get no stutters, but it's a little bit, what's the word, it doesn't work very well, particularly with the recent Openxr updates. It doesn't seem to sort of flick between different frame rate values, particularly 22.5, 30 frames per second and 45 frames per second. And you try running the sim at 45 frames per second motion reprojection, it just doesn't happen, unfortunately, even with Sim Update 5. So anyway, what I like to do is I move around like this and I can see the motion of the cockpit. There, it's a bit juddery, micro stuttery. Even at 40 frames per second, that's what I'd get running over the ground. Now I'm going to change to motion reprojection. To do that, I'll jump out of VR. I'm going to do this and keep the recording running, even though I won't be able to talk, because I'll take the headset off. So this is what I do. Here we go. Okay, so now we're back, guys, and as you can see, we've now lost 10 frames per second, okay? But that is with the preview mode off. I have also noticed that the Openxr update now means that 22.5 frames per second is also active. So now when I look backwards and forwards like this, it's actually super smooth with motion reprojection because I'm getting 30 frames per second. Okay, that's crucial. So even though I've lost 10 frames, the consistency of those frames, particularly with the fake frames that are now being added in as well, means that I feel a lot more smoothness when I'm moving around the cockpit, and particularly when I'm flying around, which we're going to do now, by the way. So the important thing here is that 22.5 frames per second is now supported. I would take preview mode off and use basically, in fact, if you don't know what that is, I'll show you. That is this thing here, okay? Use latest runtime, preview mode. Take that off now, and depending on the flying you're doing, either use it on or off. I think actually, for most people will prefer to have motion reprojection off, okay? I think that is the better option for most people, particularly if you can run at 40 frames per second. It's very smooth there anyway. But you will still get micro stuttering. I can't say this enough, okay? That if you want a beautifully fluid motion of the ground, the only way to do that is by either running the sim at 90 frames per second in VR, which no one can do right now, okay? No one can. Or you use motion reprojection. With that being said, we're now going to start the engines here. And I'm going to look for artifacts as we taxi out. And I'm now going to switch to the Windows Mixed Reality mirror so you'll be able to see those artifacts. And we're going to take a flight over Mount Rushmore to see how things feel. Okay, welcome back. We're very near Mount Rushmore. You're looking at the Windows Mixed Reality mirror set to high. Now, if you're not doing any YouTube recordings, I'd recommend setting that to low because it does sap performance, okay? Remember that. That's very important. So yeah, you can see artifacting. In fact, it's pretty bad, and the reason why it is because Openxr is aggressively taking my frame rate down to 22.5 frames per second, and I can really tell. Before, in the early stages of Openxr, it used to be 30 frames per second, and that worked better. I know my computer can run 30 frames per second. You've seen it on the ramp, and even in the air, I'm easily be able to get about 40 frames per second now. So I'm losing too many frames here, which is something that needs to be sorted out. By the way, I'm running the not the latest NVIDIA driver, but the one, in fact actually I can't remember the name of it, guys, but I'll put it on the screen now what I'm running. I have tried the very latest at the time's recording, didn't like it. I thought I actually got a couple of frames less, so I'm sticking with this. I think it's definitely the best driver, and it actually beats the old faithful, was it 457-30 or something? Anyway, let's have a little look at this Mount Rushmore for a moment, enjoy these views. We're in motion reprojection mode. We're going to go over it right now in motion reprojection mode. Then we're going to take it off and see how it feels. Look at that. Wowzers, that's modelled so well. You can see there we're getting a little bit of jerking. We never used to get that with the older Openxr platform when motion reprojection was enabled. So it's I've tried both preview mode, by the way, and it off, and I haven't noticed any difference. I don't think there's been any changes there at all. Right, okay, I'm now going to do this in real time, guys, so you can see what I'm doing. Look at this, look guys, this is how I do it. Right. In fact, first of all, let's just get out of VR. Go back to Openxr. I had preview mode on. Now I'm just going to take it off because there's no difference at the time of this recording. Things change all the time. Now I've disabled it. Take that off to make sure once you've changed the motion reprojection value, you then click off it. We're going to put the frame rate counter on. This is how you do it. Developer mode, which is in the settings here. Okay, developer mode. Make sure that's on. And then you put your frame rate counter on here. Because I'm now going to go back to this view again. Okay, so now we're back up to nearly 40 frames per second, and that's whilst recording as well, with the Windows Mixed Reality set to high, which I could actually change, but I can't be bothered to do that right now. So let's go back now and see how things are. Straight away, I now can see a little bit of micro stuttering on the ground. That is because I'm not using motion reprojection. But does it really affect the scene here? It doesn't affect me too much, considering how low I am as well. I'm now looking at the same image, Mount Rushmore, looking fantastic. Look at that. There is definitely a bit of juddering there. That is a trade-off of not using motion reprojection, okay guys? However, the image is now sharper in the cockpit. I'm not getting any artifacts of the prop. So really, it's down to you guys. What do you prefer? Motion reprojection on or off? For this type of flying, I still maintain I prefer it on because I'm low to the ground. But to be honest, I guess it's, for me now, I prefer it off more than on. Simply because the Openxr runtime is very aggressive the way it takes those frames down. What we really need, Openxr, for listening, is a way to lock those frames. We need another tab so we can lock it to either 22.5 or 30 frames per second. If we can do that, and we can run 30 frames per second in motion reprojection mode, that would be much better. You get less artifacting, and it's much smoother in general. Right guys, I'm going to continue my flight. I hope you enjoyed that sort of look at Openxr and the recent update. I think also it's worth mentioning that Microsoft Flight Simulator is now a year old today. So massive congratulations to Asobo. I know we've had some ups and downs with this sim, but I think you'll all join me in agreeing that this sim has been an absolute revolution for VR and the flight sim community in general really. It's going to move the game on. I would not want to be living in a world where this sim does not exist, that's for sure. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's absolutely amazing, and we're very lucky to be living in a time where something like this is available to us. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye for now.